What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dobrunsky here, and today's video is going to be a very quick one, touching on the latest updates for Diablo 2 Resurrected. So that is patch 2.4.3. So not a lot of huge, groundbreaking changes in this patch, in my opinion. It's largely kind of quality of life based stuff, although there is some pretty significant changes for the game lobby system for console players. So we're going to touch on everything. Again, I'll have timestamps linked in the description below. But starting off with the backend improvements, so it's the first section of the blog post. Again, I'm not going to read everything for you guys word for word, but the biggest change here is that there's more options to search for games, and they're also going to increase the game list number from 20 to 40. I'll touch on this later in the blog post and show off a couple examples, but just more games to search for. And again, you can type like Seabale or Diablo runs or trade games or whatever, so it should make the experience a lot more user-friendly for people to just find a specific game that they're looking for. So that is a huge improvement. Finding games and finding other players to interact with is always going to be improvements. This is very, very good. Now, moving on from backend improvements, taking a look at the console lobby updates. Again, this is huge. Console players now have the ability to either make a private game, public game, or join another public game, and they can choose between different game lists or game filters. So something that you could do all the time for the PC portion, like you could not do this on console. So that is huge. Just imagine not being able to, like, you find something crazy, like you find a perfect Griffins and you can't make a trade game saying I found -20 plus 15 or key Griffins for trade or whatever. You could not do that before, but you now have the ability to do that. And again, there's some various filters and stuff here. I don't have D2R on console, so this, for me personally, is not actually a big change for me, but for those that love this game and are playing on PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, this is massive. I can't tell you how many comments I've received on videos asking me to like advocate for the console player base to get this change implemented. So you guys finally have it. That is awesome, and I'm super excited for you guys. And moving on to the PC lobby updates, not a lot has changed. I mean, we still have the 20 to 40 upgrade there, so again, more game lists, but they did add filters. So I touched on this earlier, but the ability to like search Diablo, Bale, Seabales, trade games, Griffins, Burrune, whatever, it should allow you to find games a lot easier. So that is a huge improvement. It's kind of being a Diablo 2 streamer. I'm kind of like fortunate that I can just like ask chat for a specific item or make a game or whatever. I don't really struggle to find specific trade games, but again, more filters and accessibility options for the PC crowd is really good. Now, the next interesting piece of news here is this Magic Find bonus event. So from June the 30th to July 1st, we're going to provide a 50% Magic Find buff to characters. Now, I don't know if this is, like, the way I'm reading this is not like a flat 50% MF gain. It's like if you have 400 MF, you're going to get a 50% buff to that 400 MF. So that in itself, that's not actually too, like, crazy. I think it's very cool, but the premise behind this, I think, is what excites me the most. If they can add like seasonal themes or stuff to switch up kind of the meta or gameplay of Diablo 2, that is pretty exciting. Like, say, I don't know, increased Burrune drop rate weekend, or increased cow event, or increased cow density event, like maybe twice the amount of cow density for a weekend, or faster Bale run waves or something. I don't know, maybe they spawn faster for a specific time period. I just think the idea of seasonal themes, that's what excites me the most, more than this kind of like extra additional % Magic Find buff, just the possibility of getting additional seasons for D2. And moving on to the quality of life improvements, there's quite a few here, and a lot of them seem to be largely bound to either the HORADRIC cube or WHIRLWIND, which is very cool because a lot of people that are a fan of playing the Barbarian have been advocating to get like the short whirlwind fix. There was a missing damage frame and whatnot, so we're going to cover all that. Now, the first one, players can start a new whirlwind leap or leap attack immediately after the whirlwind ends. This is just kind of like a quality of life. It's easier to play whirlwind. But the biggest change here, the way that I'm reading this, is that so whirlwind now incorporates increased attack speed from all equipment. So essentially, you're not going to be able to whirlwind faster, but slower weapon bases that didn't previously have increased attack speed will be viable alternatives to whirlwind. So I think that in terms of like meta, this isn't going to change a ton. Dual Grief is probably going to be the best option, although I was talking with chat when I was streaming today, maybe potentially like 2 F Zerkraxes, dual death, and then if you get offhand IS, like 20 increased attack speed from laying of hands, 20 increased attack speed from High Lords, you could still hit that max breakpoint. So you could have like 100% Deadly Strike, 100% Crushing Blow, Mana Leech from the Dual Death. Like I think there's a possibility for a couple cool different weapon choices, and that's just literally based on the fact that offhand weapon IS now counts towards Whirlwind. So I think that's really cool. Next one, they added a loot to cube skill for controllers. So if you have a full inventory and you have your cube, it'll automatically move something that you pick off the ground to your cube. So it's only for controllers, but I think this actually would have been cool if it was implemented for PC. But just below that, you can see that they added a bindable hotkey that you can use to directly open the HORADRIC cube. That's going to be really interesting. I typically like to play with like full charms, like Torch Nanny, Tomb of Identify, Tomb of Town Portal, and then I'll have that HORADRIC cube there, and then I'll always open up my inventory, like when I pick an item off the ground, then open up the HORADRIC cube and then put it inside and go back to town later to identify or whatever. Kind of like a min-maxing thing to get the most amount of plus skills. The fact that I can now, with a single hotkey, open the cube directly, that is very, very cool. You can bulk assign stat points using a controller, so I don't play on controller, but that's interesting. This is really interesting as well. A confirmation prompt will now appear when bulk assigning all remaining stat points to both PC and console. So the way that I'm reading this is if you accidentally shift click and you want to give yourself 450 points of strength, it's going to ask you to confirm that first. So no more like bunked respecking, so that's kind of cool. And then this one is probably the smallest thing, but the way that I'm reading this is an automated auto map, auto open setting, is that you don't have to manually toggle the map every time you make a new game. I know that sounds so minor, hitting tab or whatever you've rebound your key for the auto map, but the fact that you don't have to do that now is really cool. Let's maybe take this a step further and also add this for loot always showing. I personally like to play with loot always showing, and I don't see the reason why I have to enable that every new game. So I think that'd be cool if it just was auto set as well. And again, for the online experience, we covered a lot of this in like the PC lobby, but updating the number of games from 20 to 40, game lists now load faster. You can read for yourself, but not super exciting stuff. Now, in terms of gameplay bug fixes, they fixed an issue where way back in LOD, if you had unidentified items in your cube and you talked to Kane, it would identify what was in your cube. You can't currently do that as of this patch, but they're going to fix that. So that's, again, for those that min and max and like to carry a lot of items in their cube, you can now talk to Decker Kane. Fixed an issue, this one's really big, where short distance whirlwinds could end without executing a single attack. So tryhards that really like to whirlwind, they always do like a short triangle whirlwind pattern to maximize the number of hits. In the current state of the game, you were missing some of those hits, like the calculation, so it was really like nuking some of the damage for whirlwind, so that's been fixed. Fix an issue where Whirlwind would apply properties and damage from a broken weapon. I didn't even actually know that this was a bug, so that's cool. It's another fix. Fix an issue with first attack Whirlwind was treated different from the rest. When dual wielding, the first attack will choose 2 targets, just like all the other attacks. Okay, so that's a buff to like dual grief, Whirlwind barbs. Inconsistent resurrection cost for mercenaries. That's not too exciting. Fix an issue where corpse skills were not auto-targeting corpses when using the right click. Okay. Moving on to the online fixes. There was a bug here that you could, I guess you could mimic impersonating developers. I didn't know this. I don't really use the chat very often, so they fixed that. Fix an issue where you couldn't select and join lobby games on PC with a controller. Again, I don't play with controller, but I guess that is a fix that people are advocating for. One of them in here, there was the ability to double click. This is all fixing issues. Again, not really too exciting, but you guys can read through them yourself. But there was, I think I missed it, you can double click on a game now. Instead of having to click on a game and then join in lobby, you can just double click and then join that game. So kind of small quality of life stuff. Again, for the most part, I don't think it's too groundbreaking. I think Whirlwind being significantly buffed and potentially some additional options is cool. More games and then filters will make it easier for players online to like hunt and trade or team up with people. But I think that the biggest change here is probably just console players finally getting a lobby. But anyways, that's a quick rundown of this blog post, guys. I'll have it linked in the description below. Again, I tried to just whiz through a lot of timestamps, a lot of stuff to cover. I'm not gonna call it like huge groundbreaking patch notes, but a handful of nice quality of life stuff and then big updates for console players. But again, guys, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of this patch note. Like if you're excited, if you want more, you're looking forward to the next ladder, you're currently not really playing because you're just waiting for the next ladder to drop. Again, any comments or feedback is welcome as long as you're not a dick. Other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.